All right, so I have this question here from Moguro Graphics, and it's saying, "Hello, Mr. Tola. I truly appreciate the support you've given us creatives. I followed your advice from last year around May. My Behance views grew from 9,000 to 39,000, and since then, I have had the opportunity to work with clients across Africa, the US, and Europe. I am sincerely grateful. I am now planning to start a creative agency here in Kenya, focused on serving medium and high end corporations with marketing and advertising communication solutions. Initially, I'll be using co working spaces for meetings and subcontracting services like copywriting and photography based on demand. My question is on the creative side. What steps should I take after launching online? How can I effectively reach and attract this target client as an agency? And what does it take to scale from there? All right, thank you very much, Mugoro Graphics. Um, I I appreciate this feedback that you've given to me. I wish I knew your actual name because what's here is Mugoro Graphics. I don't know if your name is Mugoro, but thank you very much for this feedback. I do not remember the advice I gave you, although I remember your name and I remember answering a question from this name from last year, May. I honestly cannot remember the advice or your question, but I am glad that you are able to get results from following the advice I gave you. Thank you for sharing that with me. I would not say I am particularly surprised by the results you've gotten. And I say that with all sense of humility. I believe that what I do in advising, answering questions, giving people clarity is not something I try to do. It's something I am led to do. It's a gift I have been given. And what that means is that a lot of the advice I'm giving doesn't come from my mind as Tola Alabi, because my mind as Tola Alabi is incredibly small. But then it comes from the leading of the spirit within me. And I'm very, very glad and touched by the fact that you were able and humble enough to follow the advice that I was led to give you. So thanks for sharing this. And now you're at this point, you have this next thing you want to do. You want to start a creative agency in Kenya. So I'm guessing that you are based in Kenya. And your question here is, what should you do um, after you launch? And how can you effectively attract the target clients to this agency? So you are saying you're looking for medium and high end um, corporate clients, um, which is not a bad thing. I think one thing I want to start out by saying is that business is a conversation. I think a lot of people need to know this going into business. Business is a conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. It's a long conversation between you and the people you're serving. And one thing I know about conversations, because I like having conversations, is that the best conversations are not rehearsed. The best conversations are not rehearsed. They are free flowing. When you rehearse a conversation, it's very easy for that conversation to stall. Very easy for the conversation to stall. I think I've spoken about this before in one of my podcasts. I talked about when I met my wife. She wasn't my wife then, but when I met her and I got her phone number. And I remember our first telephone conversation we had. It's for me it was very awkward and I felt very embarrassed after having that conversation. And that was majorly because I rehearsed everything I was going to say. From the hello, what did you do today, and stuff like everything up until the goodbye. In my mind, that conversation was going to last about 10, 15 minutes. Because I already guessed what her feedback would be and how long she would engage and stuff like that. But when I actually made the call, it didn't go the way I thought at all. I thought it would last 10 minutes. It lasted barely 2 minutes because a lot of what I told her, she just gave me one word answers and I didn't know where to go from there. It seemed like an awkward conversation to me. But it wasn't her fault. It was my fault because I really wasn't listening. I wasn't listening. I was just waiting for the cue to say the next thing I had rehearsed. And since then we've had other conversations. Even up until our marriage, we are notorious at talking for long hours. Even till now, we talk for late into the night for hours and hours. And I realized the secret was not rehearsing our conversation and just listening to her in the moment and taking my time to think and responding honestly. This is exactly how business is. Business is an ongoing conversation between you and your clients and the people you're serving. Try not to rehearse. Try to respond. My advice to you, Mugoro Graphics, is as you set up this outfit or this agency in Kenya, don't go with a rehearsed mind or a rehearsed attitude. Go in the mind of responding to their reaction. Very important. Respond, don't rehearse. Because you do not control the outcome and people's reaction to things. The most successful companies respond. The most frustrated companies rehearse. You respond. And what does this mean? I would explain this with my own experience when I was doing business. You see, when I went to Canada, I found my interest in graphic design. And so I went to Canada for my postgraduate studies. And I went to study a course called Computer Interactive Multimedia. Computer Interactive Multimedia. Now, this was beyond graphic design, even though we learned some graphic design, but graphic design just made up about maybe 20% of our syllabus. A lot of what we learned in school was motion design and web design. At that point in time, web design was just gaining ground in the world. We're just gaining ground, and the bubble of web had burst at that point in time. So everybody was learning how to do web. And so the school at that time, this was the first time, we were the first set of postgraduate students that they were teaching this computer interactive multimedia design. So we learned web design, we learned motion design, we learned animation. So we learned how to use tools like Dreamweaver, Flash, Fireworks. Some of these tools don't exist anymore. But that's what we learned how to use. So Photoshop was just something we learned once a week. It wasn't the core. As a matter of fact, logo design was just one class when I went to Canada, just one class. I was heavily equipped to work as a web designer and to do interactive graphics. So I learned how to make interactive CDs for products and stuff like that, interactive interfaces for people that wanted to sell products and things like that. I learned how to do all those things because for us, that was the future of design. Web pages and interactive design, motion design. I was incredibly good in using Macromedia Flash, which was a motion design software. Incredibly good. I was the best in my class. That's what people knew me in the class for, doing Flash animation. And so I came to Nigeria with the mind that I would come and just sweep the market with motion design and web design. My mind was never on doing logo design or even flyers or things like that. No. I thought the future of design in Nigeria was web and interactive design. And so when I came to Nigeria, I knew how I was going to set up my company, what I was going to do, and things like that. So I'd rehearsed how the company was going to go. It was going to be a new media company that focuses on web and motion design. But when I got to Nigeria, one thing I realized was the market was not ready for web and motion at that time. I'll have you know this was about 2007. Pretty early times. That's almost 20 years ago. Nobody was thinking of doing a website for their small company. Nobody. Very few people were thinking of doing websites. They thought websites were something so incredibly big that it was for big organizations. So someone that had a company making cakes or a photography company was not thinking of making websites. For them, that was too highfalutin. Why would I make a website? Am I CNN? You understand? So they didn't think of making. So I tried and to sell that website thing, but like, no, we are not GT Bank. We don't need a website. We are not MTN. That's what they were telling me. We are not Coca-Cola. They pushed back interactive design. They didn't see why it was necessary to spend so much money. For them, it was too much for too little. And I got so much pushback. But this is what I was putting on my flyers. For me, that was the sweet spot. Somebody that can do web and do interactive design, and I could use this software called Flash. People like, what's Flash? I was like, for motion design. Why do we need motion? All I just want to do is my flyer and my logo. That's all they wanted to do. They were not interested in, nobody had, no company was developing apps and stuff, user interface. People didn't care about those things then. Do my logo for my letterhead so I can apply for a contract. Do my business card, do my flyer. And that's why I say business is a conversation. I had two options: to continue to do what I had rehearsed or to listen and respond. I decided to listen and respond. And so I listened. What did they actually want? They wanted the simple things. I realized that Nigeria at that time had not caught up to Canada because social media wasn't big, so people were not as exposed then. It was going to take some time for that new media to get to Nigeria. So I had to set up as a basic graphic design company, doing logos, flyers, things people could relate to. And that's how I got into logo design as a core service. It was a response. A lot of it was a response. And I found that I really enjoyed doing logo design. And I stayed there. And it became very profitable. I could charge a premium. But that was because I could respond to what my clients wanted from me, rather than forcing what I'd rehearsed. So what I'm going to tell you is, you don't know what lies ahead of you. Don't act like you do, and don't try to control it. All you know right now is that you have a leading to set up in Kenya. You have a desire to work with medium and high scale clients. That is your desire and that is your leading. But something might happen that might surprise you. Number one, you don't know what the reaction to your offering would be. They might not choose most of what you're offering. They might just choose one thing that you're not paying attention to. You must respond to what they choose. Number two, you do not know who you are going to attract. And I must state this. I must state this for every entrepreneur there listening to me. People get successful and make money serving small scale clients. I'll say it again. There are businesses that have built a lot of wealth and made a lot of profit serving small scale pop and mom small scale business. Small scale businesses. So not everybody has to serve medium to large scale businesses. You don't know who you will attract. All you can do is offer. Once you offer, you begin to see who you attract. One thing I do know is that you are equipped for the people you attract. Everybody wants to work for large scale businesses, Fortune 500 companies, but not everybody is equipped for that. Your experience in life equips you for a particular audience. When they start coming, don't reject them. Respond to them. So you have a desire, but your reality might not particularly align with that desire you have. People get frustrated by trying to force it. My biggest advice to you is to never force it. Lean into it. Lean into it. See, I had a design business for a very long time. But I tell people this, I never had like high profile clients. I think I had only one high profile client, but never high profile client. If you look at my logo design, you'll see a lot of strange names and strange brands that a lot of people do not know. A lot of people do not know. I don't have one of those portfolios that people look at and like, oh, I know this brand, oh, this is an international brand, this is a global brand. No, I don't. For a while, it bothered me. But then I realized I was equipped for the little guy. I wasn't equipped for the big guys. Because I had the skill of conversing. And the little guys were the ones that allowed me to converse with the owners of the business. I realized there was too much protocol working with the big guys, and I wasn't equipped to go through protocols. I'm the man that is made to work with the owner of the company. And the person can listen to me and take my advice. That's why when I started this answering your question, I told you I'm not surprised that you're getting results. I'm not surprised. When you said I advised you last year and now you're getting, I'm not surprised, because that's the gift I've been given. But a person needs to be humble to receive from my gift. And I realized that a lot of the people that were running big organizations were not humble. They wanted me to talk to their PA or the head of this or stuff like that. But I wanted to talk to the owner. I wanted to talk to the person with the vision. And the only kind of companies that gave me that opportunity were small scale companies. So I had more impact with that. At first, I wanted to resist it, but I couldn't. I had to respond to it. Because when I went to big organizations, they always shut the door in my face. When I went to smaller organizations, they welcomed me like a king. So I leaned into that and I built my career on that. I made a profit from that. Most importantly, I made impact from that. So what I'm going to tell you, Mugoro, is lean into the reality, listen to the conversation, stop rehearsing, launch, and see what the response is. See what the response is to launching. Don't assume the response. Don't assume what will happen next, because you do not know. I'll tell you that for free. If you do not assume, you will not be shocked. You will just observe, and then you will do the necessary. Always respond. Business is more interesting when you respond. It's frustrating when you rehearse. That means you are trying to dictate what the other person's response should be. So go in there, launch. Scale by their response. This scaling thing we are talking about, a lot of people are frustrated when it comes to scaling because they've told themselves they will scale in 2 years. They will scale in 5 years. They will scale in 1 month. So they have these projections that are not response to reality, but rehearsed imagination. They say we will be the go-to people in the next 5 years. We will win industry awards in the next one. You don't know that. Don't frustrate yourself. So a lot of people give up on businesses, not because the businesses are not working. It's because what they rehearsed is not happening. But when you respond, you would realize that you're actually making progress. So if there's any advice I have for you, is to respond to reality rather than living in a rehearsed world. Let it happen. And per time as it's happening, I believe God would give you the wisdom to know what to do per time. So respond more and rehearse less.